The question is the motion be agreed to. Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, John Key gave the game away when he admitted a little too candidly a couple of weeks ago, better to win dirty than to lose clean, because that very much sums up this government's modus operandi when it comes to the New Zealand public, their attitude to democracy and their attitude to transparency. Those were his words. Better to win dirty than to lose clean. And that is very much the attitude of this national government. It is no wonder Transparency International's corruption perception index ratings for New Zealand are plummeting when we have a government that think it's better to win dirty than to lose clean. Mr Speaker, and we already know that this government under John Key have overseen the development of the most sophisticated smear machine New Zealand politics has ever seen. And the veil slipped before the last election when New Zealanders got a glimpse at the lengths the National Party will go to discredit and to smear their opponents. And if members of the public want to know why members of Parliament are so protective of their email communications, there's a good example, because we know the types of dirty tricks that the National Party got up to in the run-up to the last election and before that. So, Mr Speaker, there are significant issues at stake when it comes to members of Parliament's ability to interact with journalists and members of the public unfiltered, and I think that I'm looking forward to the opportunity to get to the bottom of that. But Mr Speaker, there are bigger issues around transparency and democracy that concern this national government, because their modus operandi has been secretive. It has been to avoid public scrutiny at all costs. We had the Sky City deal, the dodgy Sky City deal. We had the Northland by-election bribes, although they weren't particularly successful bribes, of course, because they lost. But then we've got the Prime Minister openly admitting that they don't take any notice of the Official Information Act. They only comply with it when it's convenient to the government. This is a legal document. These national government ministers think they are above the law. They think the Official Information Act shouldn't apply to them, that the public shouldn't have the right to see what they are getting up to. Well, the public do have a right to see what this government are getting up to, and they should stop ignoring the law and start complying with it. They should stop thinking that they are above the law that applies to everybody else and start complying with it the same as every other New Zealand does. The Open Government Partnership have said that they think this government pays lip service to the notions of transparency in New Zealand, and I have to say, I think they barely even do that. Because this is one of the most secretive governments we have seen. And classic example of the secretive nature of this government. Where is the information about the $4 million bribe that got paid to the Saudi businessman? They're not releasing any information to back that up. That is a disgraceful episode in New Zealand's international relations, and they are not willing to release any information about that. I know that there are members on the other side of the House with high levels of integrity who must be wanting to climb under their benches when they hear information about the New Zealand government paying bribes to people overseas. They must be absolutely humiliated and ashamed of the actions of their own government when they hear those things. It's no wonder Murray McCully will not release any information about it, because it is a stain on the record of the New Zealand government. It is a stain on New Zealand's reputation internationally. And Murray McCully should front up and explain it and release all of the information about it. Because if there is a supposed legal claim, let's see what it was. Because giving $4 million in a bribe simply isn't the type of behaviour that New Zealanders should be able to expect from this government. And increasingly, what we're seeing from this government is they're ducking responsibility and pushing public servants out in the front line to defend their actions. That's not the way this system works. The buck stops with the ministers who are the elected officials, who are the elected representatives, and they should stop hiding behind their officials and ducking responsibility by refusing to release information, by refusing to front up and justify their decisions, and by continuing to operate and they've doing it even more secretively now than they did before, the most sophisticated smear machine that New Zealand politics has ever seen.
Mr. Speaker.